Hello, everybody. Welcome to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. My name's Carl. Thanks for tuning in this afternoon. And happy Halloween again. I've been piling through a lot of stocks today. There's one thing that I've noticed the last couple of days, well, last little while here. There hasn't been many trend writer entrances. There's been some here or there, and a lot of times the ones that trigger, I go look at them, and it's on an earnings gap, either up or down. So they're not really considered trend writer entries based on an earnings gap. Okay, but let me get that off your screen. Okay, so let's go look initially. Got a question out there talking about the USO and the ABX, whether they're not going anywhere. Well, we made them yesterday, and so it's nice when trades go our way the first day, but sometimes it takes some time. Now we got hit, gold took a hit overnight, so that's put a little bit of damper on ABX. And remember, that's our smaller position size on that trade. And we're hoping for a rebound here in gold and silver. That's what we're looking for. But yeah, we got to give them a little bit of time before we consider they're not going our way. We got to give them more than just a day. So, and I know I'm the same way. When I get into trades, I want them to take off the next day. If they don't, I'll look at them, but you got to give them sometimes several days. Occasionally, you can get into a trade and you get some instant gratification, and it really takes off. Okay, in the case of the two trades, if we look at USO, which you made right at the close last night, it gapped down, it's running down. So far it's working for us, and this has been up some, it's been down some. But overall, I still think the downtrend, which we've been in now for quite some time, really since mid-September, is intact. I don't see this thing, that downtrend, changing anytime soon, and expect this to run down, another dollar or so before, and that's likely where we're going to be exiting. And then the ABX. And Barrick Gold, with gold dropping, now this has been down. Well, the low of the day is 1927, and right now it's trading at 1959, so it's about 30 cents off its lows, which is promising. This has everything to do with the price of gold, and gold took a gap down this morning. And then SLV. And Jeff talked about this at lunch, and I always love to hear Jeff bring up point and figure charts and some of the other things that he looks at to explain the reasoning behind trades like this. And yeah, it was one of those trades that gapped right over our stop, and gapped pretty significantly over our stop. And so we didn't have an opportunity to say, oh well, it looks like it's going to close below the 7, let's take it off. It was just there. And so when that happens, you got to reevaluate position and all this kind of things. And we've had some talks about this. We're going to watch this throughout the day. If it turns and starts to break 21, or the price of silver starts to run dramatically lower, we'll go out and do what we need to do. But right now, with the delta the way it is this morning, it's quite a bit lower today. The little movements we're seeing right here, I've seen it down 90, 93. The movements we're seeing right here isn't affecting the options price all that much. Okay, and yeah, these trades suck. Bottom line, they suck. You get in them, it gaps against you, and there you are. Okay, so we gotta reevaluate it, and we'll keep our eyes on it. Okay, and then we're in XLE. XLE, it's been up here today, 87. It's been a pretty good level of resistance for it. We want that to hold. I'd like to see it turn run a little bit lower, and XOM, their largest component, it's sold off earlier today, and now it's coming back. It's rallying a little bit. It's up around 90 and a half. We'll see what this does into the close today. 90, typically looking back on it, 90's been a pretty decent level of support support / resistance for it. We'll see if that can hold today. And we look at the chart of the market. The market started lower, ran down 6-7 points or so, and now it's gone up 4. So that's what we're seeing in the XLE. It's just trying to drag on everything. it can get its hands on, and there we go. Things are just taking off. And then a last position is on the TLT, and this has just been flat all morning. Now it's up 13 cents. It's been down 5 to 14 cents. Now it's up 13. It would be very positive to come up to around the 108 mark. Overall, it's consolidating around this level. The indicators tend to keep trending higher. I still think we're going to get a pop out of this one, but no worries on the TLT. All right, so my top three today. So, well, before my top three, since it is Halloween, my favorite stock of the day, just according to what they produce and what I like to eat, would be Hershey's. I'm a big fan of the Hershey's Reese's. Okay, so on with that. Top three. And Jeff took this from me, but he mentioned I'd probably talk about this. One of the ones I like the best out there is DuPont. Okay, looking at from a trend rider, it's not there. But if you change what we've got here and put this on a vibe, this is a nice vibe entry. And I mentioned this on chat. Jeff talked about it a little bit too. The volumes are really light today. If I zoom in on this a little bit here, gonna notice for a vibe entry, we've got all three of the major averages up. Okay, the volume's a little bit light. And then we've got today breaking up through the 7. A little bit more confirmation would be heavier volume. And I don't think we're going to get all that heavy volume today just based on where it's at, but I've been surprised the last little while. I've seen some of these entrances where, and we've talked about it, volume might be a little bit light, but by the end of the day, it runs up and over the average, which is a very promising sign to see that. So that's what we're looking for. Now, these vibe entrances, the bullish or bearish entrances, what it tends to pick, because uptrends are made out of higher highs and higher lows, right? And that's what the vibe trend tended to point out, either bullish or bearish. Here we got an uptrend intact, which would be bull vibes. It tends to help spot these bottoms. Now, just looking at this last entrance right here, and you don't see this too often, but you'll see it in indicators occasionally, and a lot of times when you see it, it's quite accurate. Okay, and let me erase some of these. I want to show you this right here. That right there. So you had a vibe bull trigger right on this day. Right there. It triggered right there when it shot above the 7. All the major averages was up. Okay, but then look what happened. The next day it went back to the 7 and then rallied above it again. Those entrances like that tend to be some of the most accurate. Of course, we're looking at hindsight, and yeah, it was accurate, all right, but I'm just telling you from experience, when you get that, they tend to be more accurate. You also sometimes see that on indicators, such as the stochastics. And let me zoom out of here. But the stochastics, sometimes you get a cross down, either bullish or bearish. If it's above 80, you get a couple crossovers showing you the, and I'm going to have to see if I can find it here. They're bringing the stochastics. And I'm just rambling here, and I just got going on the stochastics. So let me see if I can find something on the stochastics. You don't see them all that often, but when you do, you get a double bullish crossover on the slow stochastics. Tend to be some of the best, the most accurate entrances. Okay, here's one down here. So you got the stochastics, and it drops below 20, and then you get the bullish crossover right here. Okay, and then what, a week, 2 weeks later, you get a second bullish crossover. All right, now that occurred first part of September, and when you see those, if you can compile that with a vibe entrance or a trend ride or something like that, and you happen to get 2 bullish crossovers, the second one tends to be the most accurate. You can see that lined up right with the vibe entry. Good looking entrance. Again, you don't see that too often on these indicators, but when you do, It can be really accurate. It dramatically increases your odds from my experience. So DuPont would be one of my top three. I like the setup. It's a bull vibe setup. I wish there was a hint more volume than there is. Maybe there'll be some buyers stepping in pretty big into the close today, but right now the volumes are a little bit light. Got about what, an hour and a half left in the trading day. Another one I like. These are all vibe entrances. It's Alaska Airlines. And same thing. Here you go to the vibe. And I'll zoom in on this. Okay, so you got all three averages up, and they've been up. The 100's been kind of sideways in here, but overall, they're recently all going back the same direction, and you get another push above the 7. Okay, you notice the push above the 7s on stocks and uptrends tends to be fairly accurate. Okay. And we're getting another one today, and that's a strong push. It's a strong candle. Again, the only thing that's a little bit light is the volume. But if you've been hearing me talk for a long time, volumes have been going up. Have been down almost all year long, and stocks are still rising. But I still like to see it. Just to me, it makes the trade look a little bit more accurate. Okay, yeah, I'll look at UUP. Thanks, Jay. And then my last top three, and nope, sorry. We already looked at that one, is Allstate. This is very similar to the price action we saw and a couple other stocks recently, and they've just taken off. So Allstate down on some earnings to rally back and go positive. Now, typically on earnings, you're going to have strong volumes, and you can just see a hint of it down here. We do have strong volumes today, and you're going to get that on earnings almost every time. You're going to get a lot of volume in here. But what I like about this, yeah, you could say it's a vibe entrance. It is. It's a vibe entrance. Everything going up. This is closing back above it. But the bullishness, the bullish action here on the candle formation on a stock that initially was sold off and has turned around and gone positive by the day, huge bullish engulfing. Got a couple things working for it here for this one to run higher. And we saw the same thing on no, it wasn't Joy Global. It was on another one of our recent trades, one of my top threes from late last week. And the name escapes me. Dang it. Again, my memory's really good, but it doesn't last that long. And maybe some of you know that feeling. But there's another stock it was on my top three last week. Same thing. It sold off on, oh, I know what it was. It was, I thought it was, oh, yeah. It's Joy Global. So my memory's not that bad. I was just looking in the wrong area. Okay, it was this one right here. This day right here. This day right here is where Caterpillar announced horrible earnings, and initially this and Deere dropped on Caterpillar's earnings, horrible earnings, but then they went positive by the end of the day. So remember, it was seen more of a Caterpillar flub in earnings rather than anything else, and beautiful turnaround. And I'm not saying that's going to happen here on Allstate, but very similar thing that we saw. Okay, big drop, run and go positive. You're going to have the big volumes there. This is going to be a fundamental push right here. We're looking at it technically, but right now the fundamentals are going to be pushing this thing higher. Price target on this would be up into the $55 range. I look at it about right there. Very bullish price action. So my top three was Allstate, Alaska Airlines, and DuPont. Okay, stocks on my radar. And sometimes you get lucky, right? And the reason I came across Triple D today, 3D, because when I was looking at DuPont, I hit an extra D, and it brought me to 3D. And this had a very similar entrance to what we just been talking about. All right, you look at this big sell-off right here. Big sell-off. Stock drops all the way from almost 60 to 54, back up to close at nearly the highs of the day. Huge bullish candle. And what's happened the last 2 days? Okay, well, I like today's actions especially because you notice it gapped down to about 61, just over 60. Runs down to the 7, has reversed to go up and break 62. If I back out of this slightly, you're going to notice the volumes are fairly strong. Now right now this is trading over $2, about $3 off the 7. So there is a chance. I wouldn't call it I'm not going to say it's going to be a snapback to the 7, but mostly these strong moves will consolidate a little bit. A very bullish consolidation would be down slightly. I don't think at this point, in a lot of stocks, when they break those multiples of 10, like a 60, when you're talking here on Triple D, it'll retest that level. I doubt this gets back to that level. A retest at a little bit higher level, maybe 62, 61 and a half. I'm somewhere in that range would be what I'd be looking for. Let it consolidate a little bit back to the 7, and then a push back up off the 7 at that point would be my entrance here, since it's so far away from the 7. But man, just very bullish price action here. This is one of those I wish I would have seen it type trades. That happened on Tuesday. Didn't cross my radar. Dang it. I like seeing those, but I like seeing them better when I can actually trade them. Another stock today, really bullish in nature, is Johnson & Johnson. Volume's a bit light, but very similar thing. This dropped down below the 7 and has now turned and gone positive, up 38 cents. So, excuse me. A push up here off 93. It's been past resistance back there late July, early August is what I'd really like to see. But another stock I'm keeping a close eye on. All right, let's go look at the dollar. So we got a gap higher here on the dollar today. It's been downtrending. I don't know if you could really look at this technically. It's going to be one of those. It's going to move based on more fundamental reasons. It's going to be more trend driven than your normal stock out there. Overall, the downtrend, you can kind of see it right down through this range. It's just peeking its head out of that. There should be overall, I think the bigger resistance level for this is going to be 21.7. That's where it's hit it here in the past. And the correlations over the years have really gone away as far as the dollar in the market. This year especially. A weak dollar was always good for the market. A strong dollar was always bad. Now it doesn't matter what the dollar does because of all the pumping that they're doing right now. As far as any type of a setup here, bullish, bearish, it's so far away from the 7 right now. I don't see any type of a setup right here as far as a trade. It is a breakout. It's had these breakouts here on its way down. So is it going to continue higher? If it can hold up in these levels, let me show you what I'm looking at here. Overall, the trend line has been basically right along there, right about that level. It's not a perfect line right there, and that's really where it's hitting today. And you can also look at the MACD on this. Again, it's not going to be all that driven by indicators and things like that. It can help, but you can see that the recent trend line here has been right down through here. So to get really bullish on it, the MACD rises above here is what it would help maybe confirm a little bit of a bottom here, but we're just at a tipping point. It could go higher, it could come back down. Odds favor some consolidation since it's away from the 7. Oh, PW, dang. I probably even commented on it, but it didn't stick in my mind. I wish I would have paid more attention. Thanks, PW. Let's look at Bank of America. Yeah, and this one's been on my. I've been watching this one all day too. It's very bearish price action because you see right through here. It broke through the 7. Oops, breaks through the 7 right here, and now it's been coming up and retesting it. How many days in a row retested it? 2, 3, 4, and now it's pushing down off of it. It's very bearish price action. The level here, you could look at 14 as a level. You can also say it's 1410, whatever. I think it's more of a range. You're always going to hear me say support and resistance is more of a range. It's not exact numbers. You can see right through this level, it's caught it. It caught it. Here is some support. That's right where we're at right now. You get through this level down towards 14, it's likely to break 14 and run lower. I know there's a lot of you that would like this thing to break and run down at 25 to 50 cents tomorrow, and I'm on your side. Okay, but right now it does. It looks very bearish. Okay, Facebook, big reversal today. Yeah, and Jeff talked about this at lunch. I mean, a while ago, how the initial reaction was it ran up and then turned around and ran negative, and now it's come and gone positive again. And when I'm talking up, it ran up last night after the close when they announced. But what scared them was the comments made that they're having really good ad revenues, but they're not going to increase the frequency of the ads, which Wall Street didn't like initially. But that was the only slight hole in their announcement. So up 3.5%. This is extremely bullish price action. This is ones that we were looking at, like the others, Joy Global, and then Allstate today. Same type of a thing. This is one of the earnings seasons where I've seen more of these strong reversals than in recent memory. I can't think of any earnings seasons in recent memory where you've seen such strong reversal like a Netflix, Joy Global, Allstate, Facebook. The list goes on and on. Heavy volume, very bullish price action. It holds above 70 here. Let me bring in. This is going to be more fundamentally driven right now. This thing could push up into the upper Bollinger Band, but again, around an earnings announcement, that's very, very bullish. Odds are this thing goes higher. That's what the odds are favoring. All right, another one I want to look at is Honeywell. This is just so close to wanting to trigger a VI bull. Technically it is. It's triggering a VI bull. It's just right there. It's pushing back up again today. It's on light volume. It's hit this level so many times. I'm not trusting it. It didn't make my top 3 because of that. I'd like to see this thing start to push. And tomorrow, see if we can't get that. It's run down today. It's turning on positive, but it's just right there at about 86. I'm sorry, about 87.50. It's like there's a wall of sellers right there. It's just having a tough time getting through it. Those sellers move away. This thing's really going to take off, probably towards the $90 level. I'd like a little bit more confirmation it's going to get up through that 87.5 mark. Just not showing it right now. Okay, then didn't make my list, top 3, but it's really close. Now you can't look at this through a vibe. You have to look at this as a trend rider. And I brought this up in chat. A lot of the ag stocks today are showing a lot of weakness. Potash is, Monsanto, Mosaic, not Agrium as much. Okay, there's some of these do little different things within the group. I brought this up because it's starting. When I first found it, it was at the lows of the day, breaking through the 7, down through 46. Next stop would be the lower Bollinger Band. It's close to triggering. Now, as far as the uptrend, little bit of an uptrend that we've been seeing here since September, it's not much, but technically there's no break in the uptrend yet. So I can't get bearish right here, right now. What I'd love to see this thing to do is break through 46, bring in some volume. The volumes have been non-existent on this thing for a long time. Now there are, because of this huge 60 million share day over here, the volumes are really skewed right now. It's trading 1.5 million shares today, but it doesn't look like much. And so to get bearish on it, I want to see this thing come down, break 46. You can see the bands are still tightening. So we might get it. This thing might run down in the lower band here, but that's what I'd get to get really bearish on. It's on the radar. It's not set up yet. Okay, the other one in here was potash. And I've been showing a lot of weakness. I just like the chart on Mosaic a little bit better. If this thing breaks down through 31, pushing it back off the 7, you got something here. Probably to run about to the 29.5 level would be the price target on that. It gets into that lower band and stays. It'd be one of those where you could just ride it for a while. All right, let's look at MU. Yeah, bullish engulfing pattern. On a stock that's already jumped here based on their earnings, bullish engulfing today. It has decent volumes, more so than we've seen on the others. This is decent volume. It's not extremely high, but it's okay volume. Yeah, I like it. It came back down. It didn't quite make it to the 7. Pushed back up off of it. I couldn't argue an entrance right here with a stop at today's open. Let's see where the open is. Or the low. Yeah, the low would be a little bit, 1780. That's not the low, that's the high. 1718. Put a stop at around 1718. You could ride this. I would expect it to get around to the 18.5 mark, up into that upper Bollinger Band. Yeah, this is a good looking chart. I like it, PW. Thank you. And thanks with your patience with me. Sometimes if you could reach through and really knock me on the head, say, hey, no, look at DDD, more in depth. I don't know what I was looking at. I'm sorry. Great looking chart. And I want to run through Nike with you. Remember, Nike got the upgrade. Got an upgrade, sold off a little bit, when everything else sold off yesterday. It was initially up 50, 60 cents on that upgrade. Now, a lot of times when they get upgrades, it's just kind of short-lived. Maybe it's kind of the Kramer effect. Someone comes out and says it's some good things about a stock, and then it's buy. People rush in, and then it sells off the next day. Similar action can happen on upgrades. You don't buy based on an upgrade. This is great price action. So it sold off a little bit today. It was down about 70 cents, I believe, down towards the 75 mark. And now it's come back to break even on the day. Yeah, that's a dragonfly, but remember, dragonflies, you'd like to see those towards a little bit of a dip in price rather than when it's just kind of going sideways. It doesn't mean as much, but that's still a decent looking candle. Really a push here up off of 76 would be very bullish for this. Likely to take it up towards the $78, $79 level. That's not likely going to happen today. If it does, that would be a great looking entry. And you just use the 7 as your stop. But this would have to really run up into the close up towards the open of yesterday and the high 76s. If it runs up into the close, I couldn't argue an entrance on that at all. Okay, everybody, I'll be on chat with you rest of the day. If you have any questions, comments, go ahead and chat those on in there. We'll be evaluating our positions. We'll be back on here in about 20 minutes. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.